Hey everyone, and welcome back to Julie's Cozy Living. Spring is in the air, so today I'll be preparing my raised garden beds for the new season, and later I'll also be starting some of the very first seeds of the year. In last week's video, we slowly started cleaning up the garden after winter. If you watched that video, you might remember that we tidied up the borders, did some pruning and added compost to the garden. So today I'm excited to continue the spring garden cleanup by preparing the raised beds. Today I'm starting with the 4 raised beds you see here, and after that I'll move on to the rest of the raised beds in the garden. As you can see, these beds could use a little attention. There's still quite a lot of old leaves that need to be removed, so that's where I'll begin today. Last year I traveled more than usual, which meant I had a bit less time to spend in the garden, and the garden wasn't always very happy about that. So this year I'm feeling extra motivated to give the garden some more attention and get everything back in order. While I'm cleaning up the bed, I might be able to get a little harvest here and there. These carrots, for example, they weren't looking too good anymore, so I decided to start fresh and remove everything. These carrots haven't grown to their full size, but they are still big enough to eat, so I will just wash them and store them away for later. As you can see, I use grids on my raised beds. You might be wondering for what I use them. It is a method called square foot gardening. It's a technique that allows you to grow more vegetables in a smaller space by using rich soil and mixing different crops together. For example, 1 square can hold about 16 radishes and 4 small lettuce plants. Now that I've removed all the old leaves, I'm going to replenish the nutrients in the soil using this organic vegetable garden fertilizer. After adding the fertilizer, I gently turn the soil to mix everything well and to loosen the soil. And you might notice me switching my jacket on and off. That is because I had to continue filming on another day. On the first day that I started filming, there were some technical issues that I needed to fix first. And you might also notice that it is a bit more windy. But let's continue where we left off. The next step is to add some fresh vegetable garden mix so that the beds are nice and full again. And the last step is to give these grits a quick clean. I'm just using some warm water and a sponge. And now it's time to put the grits back in its place. And this is the result. It always feels so satisfying when everything looks neat and refreshed again after winter. Now that these beds are cleaned up, I'm moving over to my largest raised bed. This is what it looks like at the moment, and I'm really looking forward to refreshing this one as well. Before I start cleaning it, I'm going to harvest a few things, like this winter purslane. Winter purslane is such an easy plant to grow in the garden, and it's also very healthy. It's actually one of the few vegetables that contains omega-3. If you haven't tried growing it yet, I can definitely recommend it. The leaves have a very mild and soft flavor, and I personally love using them in salads. While harvesting, I also noticed quite a few tiny slugs hiding here, so I removed those as well and released them somewhere else. Sadly, they also had an unpleasant surprise for me because they had laid tiny little eggs on the edges of my raised bed. I will try to show you here. I'm not sure if you can see, but you can see all these white clusters of little white eggs here. After checking the entire bed, it turned out there were quite a lot of eggs hidden along the sides. It's a good thing I found them in time, otherwise they could have caused quite a problem later in the season. So it could be a good tip to check your own raised beds at this time, because I find that they like to lay their eggs on the sides of the raised bed. This small plant here is a kale plant called scarlet kale. I'm going to give it a new spot in one of the beds that I just cleaned up. After that, I continue cleaning up the bed and following the same steps as before, removing old leaves, adding fertilizer and topping up the soil with some fresh vegetable garden mix. And here you can see the before and after. Again, it feels so satisfying seeing the results. Finally, I'm cleaning these small vegetable planters. I place them on a pallet with wheels so that I can easily move them around when needed. And this year I plan to grow early potatoes and zucchini in these beds. While I'm here, I'm also quickly cleaning the outside of these planters with a sponge and some warm water to remove the moss. And here is the result. The rest of the moss will naturally disappear when the sun starts to shine more often. Now that all the beds are prepared, it's time to start some of the first seeds of the season. I'm starting by sowing radishes and arugula, which can both be sown quite early in the season. As you can see, I'm sowing them near the trellis. If you watched my garden planning video, you might already know why I do this. It is because I like to use the space efficiently, because by the time the tomatoes and the cucumbers start growing on the trellis in May, I've already harvested the radishes. Over here I'm going to sow some more radishes and arugula. Next, I'm also starting some lettuce, but this time I'm pre-sowing it. For my pre-sowing mix, I use 1 part vermiculite and 1 part vegetable garden soil, just the same vegetable garden soil that I use in my raised beds. Normally I prefer sowing lettuce directly in the garden beds, but this year I want to try pre-sowing them so the seedlings have a better start. Last year I kept trying to grow lettuce, but it just didn't work out. Even though lettuce is usually very easy to grow, I'm not completely sure what went wrong. I had even bought new seeds. But my guess is that some slugs might have visited the garden during the night and eaten the tiny seedlings. So by pre-sowing them I can protect the young seedlings from slugs, and it also makes it easier to see which seeds have successfully germinated. And here you can see the different lettuce varieties I'll be sowing today. Many of the names on the seed package are in Dutch, so if you're from the Netherlands and watching this, you will recognize that. This year I didn't buy any new lettuce seeds because I still had quite a few left from previous seasons that I wanted to use first. Some of them are slightly past their expiration date, but often seeds will still germinate just fine, so I'm going to give them a try, and if needed I can always sow a bit more later in the season. Finally, I'm going to pre-sprout some early potatoes and snow peas. I actually just received these by mail together with some other seeds I'll be growing this year. I will show you the purple carrots, some cucumbers, some tomato varieties, and of course the snow peas. I'll be needing these today. The potato variety I chose is an early variety called Annabelle. Because this is an early variety, it means that it's less prone to getting potato blight. To pre-sprout them, I place the potatoes in an empty egg carton with the eyes facing upwards and store them in a cool but bright place indoors. Once they develop small sprouts, they'll be ready to go into the soil. I'm also pre-sprouting the snow peas in some moist kitchen paper. This helps the germination process a little, and once small roots appear, they can be planted into the soil. Finally, I'm going to wrap them with some plastic wrap, and then I'll just need to keep an eye on them till they sprout. That's it for today's video. Next week I'll start planting flowers and turning a little corner of the garden into a spring space. So if you don't want to miss that, make sure to subscribe to my channel.